listener, and welcome to Book 2, Chapter 2 of Bite-Sized Tales, the audio flash fiction podcast. In this week's story, our protagonist has, quite literally, the worst prom ever. The Worst Prom Ever. Written and read by Chris Hussey. Kent winced in pain as he rolled to recover from his fall down the stairs. Every part of him hurt. The concrete steps of Park Valley High School were unforgiving to his body. He felt at least 10 different serious pains. It took him a moment to decide which 2 were declaring themselves the worst pains, eventually settling on his wrist and shoulder. He hoped they were just a bad sprain and a nasty bruise, but he knew better. The former was likely broken, and the latter dislocated. His breath was ragged, and sweat caused his underclothes to stick uncomfortably. He tasted the sharp tang of blood in his mouth, making his rising panic continue to ascend even higher. Panic and fear. No, not fear. Terror. Absolute terror. Kent rolled over from back to front, grunting and letting small yelps spit from his bloodied mouth the entire time. His cheek came to rest on the sealed linoleum floor for a small moment, the cool of the surface giving just the tiniest boost to the adrenaline already racing through his body. His brain picked up several other pinpoints of cold across his skin. These had to be tears in his low-quality, deep navy rented tux. Despite the pain and panic, his brain found the space to curse his luck in the knowledge that should he get away from all of this, he wasn't going to be getting his deposit back. Kent pulled himself along the floor. The gym doors were only at the end of the hallway, but from where he lay, and the speed at which his one good arm and rented loafers propelled him along, they might as well be across town. He heard the sounds of celebration beyond the doors. Sounds which meant salvation. Sounds that would save him from what was happening to him. Music, laughter, and party-driven shouts were siren calls that urged Kent forward. The revelry of the prom's partygoers coming from behind the gym doors started to fade. No, not fade. It began to change, to warp, twisting into a discordant chorus of ethereal and haunting whispers. Laughter turned to tears, shouts of celebration to cries of pain and anguish, excited yelling to moans of desperation and regret. The music changed as well, a skip in the track slowly changing with each repeat, the words taking a bizarre transformation with each iteration. Forever young. I want to be forever young. Do you really want to live forever? Forever young. Kent felt a presence, behind him, at the top of the stairs. She was there. He knew it before he even turned back to confirm. His sore and bruised muscles protested as he turned back, while his mind screamed at him to keep going. But Kent had to know. Like a scene out of a horror film, his eyes zoomed to the top of the stairs where she stood, looking right back at him. She stood, a vision of horror in red. The dress clung to every inch and curve. The thin satin gown swept across the floor with a slit up the thigh that revealed the paleness of her skin. One strap slipped off the edge of her bony shoulder, lost in the tendrils of her black hair. It was slicked with some sort of wetness, cascading over her shoulders and face, obscuring all but one eye. An eye that burned a sickly yellow as it stared with menace at Kent. Through clumped strands of her dripping hair, Kent saw her lips. The deep red lipstick remained pristine, but her mouth was closed, her lips flat and emotionless. Then they parted. A hollow gasp escaped from within, and a fresh wave of fear washed over Kent. He couldn't break his gaze, but his brain finally won the internal battle and caused his body to begin to move away, even if it was only 2 inches at a time. She did not respond to his desperate efforts to escape. A rattle from the end of the hallway broke Kent's gaze on her. The gym doors flew open. Light from the DJ booth and suspended disco ball flashed from behind, sending beams and luminescent shrapnel down the hallway. The soulless fluorescent lights lining the passage flickered, adding their own strange staccato to the mutated beats coming from the speakers in the gym. Kent looked back at her. The lights above her flickered as well, sending multicolored spears through the satin and lace of her dress. Each flash revealed a near-skeletal form underneath. Wider hips gave way to an emaciated and sickly thin core. Kent's eyes went wide as the throbbing and stuttering lights cast a revealing look through her chest. Ribs, veins, and arteries all visible in a sinister blurry red glow fueled by the lace in her dress. As a contorted chord of music timed with another oscillation of light, Kent realized he saw no heart. Though gripped with terror, his brain possessed the will for him to speak. Kent stammered, fighting back tears and the pangs of pain. Katie, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Kent shouted in weak defiance. As the lights flickered again, spectral forms of other prom-goers formed behind and around Katie's horrific visage. Her parted lips began to twist and move with a moist crack, pieces of dried lipstick falling off as she spoke.
Am I skinny enough for you now, Kent?
Katie hissed. She finally began descending the steps.
It wasn't easy.
The spectral figures followed her descent.
And I'm just so hungry now. That fucking salad at dinner just isn't going to cut it.
Kent scrambled as best he could, but it was pointless effort. There was no escape. There was no way out. Katie reached the bottom of the steps and seemed to float towards her date.
And you, in that suit? Kent, you look absolutely delicious.
This story is another writing prompt image that came to the writer's room in the Gaming with Gage and Friends Discord. And the image was very much the vision of Katie with the prom goers behind and her skeletal form underneath. And for some reason, I was struck with the idea of a very, very bad prom. So decided to expand and add a little bit more detail. I hope you enjoyed it. This chapter of Bite-Sized Tales has been brought to you under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Intro and outro music is Fantasy Motion by Alexander Nakarada, provided under a Creative Commons 4.0 license. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, we'd greatly appreciate reviews and recommendations to your friends. For more information about our authors, please visit bitesizedtales.com. We look forward to reading to you next time.